Okay. Call the October 15th City Council meeting to order. Commissioner Smith, will you give us the prayer pledge and fact of the day, please, sir?
Our fathers, once again, we come before your presence, grateful for this opportunity to serve the servants of this city. We ask, my Father, you continue to lead us, guide us, and direct us in the way you have us to go. Bless all those in attendance tonight. This we pray in thy Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Fact of the day. On October 13, 1792, the cornerstone is laid for presidential residence in the newly designated capital city of Washington, D.C. In 1800, President John Adams became the first president to reside in the executive mansion, which soon became known as the White House because its white gray Virginia freestone contrasted strikingly with the red brick of nearby buildings. Fact of the day.
All right. Welcome to the public meeting of the City Council of the City of Apopka. Please turn off all cell phones or set them to silent. The City Council permits and encourages inputs and comments by members of the public on all matters which may come before the council for action. If you wish to address the council this evening, please make sure you have filled out a card with your contact information and have presented it to the clerk. When called upon, please proceed to the podium and speak clearly into the microphone, stating your name, address of record, organization, if any, and direct your comments to the City Council and not to individual commissioners, staff, or members of the public. The council and the city staff encourages constructive criticism. However, personal attacks are prohibited. Please observe general rules of decorum and civility. Speakers and members of the audience shall refrain from rude or derogatory remarks, shouting, disruptions, reflections as to integrity, slander, abusive comments, profanity, vulgarities, and statements as to personalities. Any violations of these provisions may result in the issuance of verbal warning, including warning for trespass. If violations persist after such warnings, violators may be removed from the council chambers. And with that, Susan?
Okay, Orange Soil and Water Conservation District 3. I'm just gonna read that. Oops. First thing I'd like to do is tell you about a seminar that's coming up. It's going to be about selling, buying, and building on contaminated land, like laundromats, nurseries, garages, gas stations, and other things that normally get listed and don't sell. And it's going to be October 29th. It's going to be at 601 South Highland Avenue. Up to about 150 people can fit in. And it's going to be exciting to get rid of some of these properties that are sitting here unoccupied because they can't be sold. And the deal is they can, because you can get a federal or a state grant to clean up that dirt and replace the dirt, and then you can build, and then you get tax credits so that you don't get off of your property taxes. Now, the other thing is, I have a proclamation here, and it reads, whereas Apopka residents, Apopka Public Works Department streets, Drainage Division, Utilities Department, Stormwater Management Division, Department of Environmental Protection Division, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the Orange Soil and Water Conservation District work together to educate the citizenry and to protect and keep the stormwater system functioning and safe, whereas stormwater drains are a critical part of our community's infrastructure designed to prevent flooding by quickly carrying rainwater and runoff from streets and neighborhoods to local streams, rivers, lakes, springs, and aquifers. And whereas, unlike water that enters sanitary sewers, water entering stormwater drains is typically not treated before it flows to our natural waterways. And whereas pollutants such as motor oil, fertilizers, pesticides, pest waste, Litter and debris can be washed into stormwater drains, significantly harming aquatic ecosystems and impacting water quality, wildlife, and public health. Whereas public awareness and community participation are essential to preventing pollution and ensuring that only rain goes down the stormwater drain, the City of Apopka supports sustainable environmental practices and is committed to preserving clean water and healthy ecosystems for current and future generations. The Stormwater Division relies on the citizenry to report clogged drains and standing water debris blocking city drainage structures and streets. Mr. Vlad, can you come up here, please? Therefore, I, Mayor Brian Nelson, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Stormwater Drain Awareness Month, and by allowing only rain down the drain. There it
Can you
is.
let her finish?
Mhm.
I had asked to have her present her proclamation on October 9th. I sent an email to our CAO Radley, and I never did get a response.
All right. Thank you.
We're ready to pose the picture for the proclamation, like all proclamations, and for you to sign it.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. O. Appreciate it.
Why don't you come on out here, Diane? The Commissioner Velasquez.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. It would have to include the mayor, and I don't want to disrespect the chair at this moment.
And he's disrespecting you.
What?
But I did ask our our chief administrator if this proclamation can be read, and I did not respond.
This is to help
And I did send it.
help the city.
Next up, please.
Ace Woodham.
He doesn't.
Nathan Woodham, Apopka, Florida. To start off with, I want to first read something that Thomas Jefferson and John Adams backed. What character means in a public office? It is the core of character refers to the moral and ethical qualities that define the individual's actions and decisions. In context of public office, character comprises qualities such as honesty, integrity, and selflessness, and a committee of the public good. The founding fathers believed that public officials must possess these traits to lead effectively and maintain the trust of the people. I just want to get that out so to give you something to think about because you probably don't listen to me, the rest of me. I got a couple of questions. Holly Estates is almost, it's on the border of Lake County line up near Mount Dora on 441. I had to go through there for an inspection the other day, and I seen a lift station owned by the city of Apopka, way up there. But our city, at the decision of the past engineer that we had that resigned and went to some other better place, y'all took Weekover Glen and put private septic systems in there that's going to cost the citizens of Apopka out the back end when they start failing. Most of the people that live in there I've had the opportunity to speak with are very dissatisfied with the systems. But our mayor, as a public representative, he went there on behalf of this company and represented the city of Apopka and sold 100, I think it's 161 or 162 of these units as a private person, but also at the same time represent the city of Apopka. That's dishonesty. Very dishonest. When the man owns a house that's sitting on one of the most pristine waterways we've got in Central Florida, and he speaks of it, and his sewer at that cabin on which on the Rock Springs run is exposed to fresh drinking water and everything else. But he'll be there and sit there and be a hypocrite about other people's. That's so wrong. I've asked about the my 3 minutes is up already.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank God for you, right, Brian?
County Vice Mayor Scott, County Commissioner Moore, Apopka, Mayor Nelson, Commissioners. My name is Dr. Jim Moyer. I'm the elected Orange Soil and Water Conservation District 2 Supervisor. Just to give you a little background, more than I have in the past, the Florida legislature established the soil and water, enabled the soil and water conservation districts to be chartered in 1937. In 1945, the Orange Soil and Water Conservation Districts were created and chartered. Like a few years ago, the Florida legislature, I think it was 2022, decided that they, instead of being elected to countywide, that the soil and water conservation districts would be divided into what they call sub-districts. So I'm here representing the sub-district. And sub-district 2, the largest entirely contained municipality in my district, is Apopka, largest landmass, also the largest population. Also is the city of Ocoee and the historic town of Eatonville, a small portion of Orlando, Rosemont, and the unincorporated areas of Lockhart, Tangerine, and Zellwood. Uh, because the public deserves to know these sub-districts, I asked the Orange County supervisor election to consider, when she redoes the maps, to put the soil and water conservation district maps there, because the Florida legislature created our districts. It does not match any federal, state, or local or county district. We have our own districts. It's close to some of them, but it doesn't match any of them. So I just wanted to share that with you. I want to thank you for your time and all that you do for the citizens of Apopka, and God bless you.
Albert McKimmy, 3603 Golden Gem Road. As I look at the dais tonight, it reminds me of a date and a report. And tonight I want to discuss dates and reports. Let's travel back in time to January the 20th of 2023, when the initial copy of the draft Gannon report came out. There was quite a lot of controversy about that report because it conflicted with the narrative that the city wanted to put out. And allegedly, Chris Gannon was told at the time, unless he changed his report, he would never work in Florida again. So reports are important. This next date I want you to pay particular attention to. March the 4th of 2024. On that date, Devo Saran supplied the city administration with a report on the cause and the consequences of the so-called sinkhole at Golden Gem Road. The date is important because on that date, the city was already made aware that there was a spill of almost 300 million gallons. That's 27 feet of water was in that pond. Next date that's important is April the 21st. On April the 21st, our mayor, Brian Nelson, was on television. That's 6 weeks after that date. 6 weeks later, Brian Nelson happily told us there was only 5 feet of water in the pond and there was only 100 million gallons of water spilt, and it was nothing to worry about because it wasn't contaminated. Okay? So the problem is, under our mayor's leadership, the mayor, who's a censored liar, now runs an office, and if that office doesn't behave in a manner that he's happy, they'll lose their jobs. No job in this administration is safe. The problem is, under our mayor's administration, this city has been self-certifying to St. John's River Water Management District and the FDEP. Not once in the time that Golden Gem Road was being repaired was there an FDE inspection done or anyone from St. John's came. Now, there's conflict between St. John's now and FDEP. And the conflict is that they're both saying the other should have been responsible for what's happening. No, they weren't responsible. You guys were responsible. You knew what was happening. You knew because I told you. And you have the audacity to ask tonight for an increase in wages. Do you really think you deserve it now that you're costing the city millions and tens of millions of dollars? I don't. It's time you lived up to what you're supposed to do here. Provide accountability.
Good evening, Francina Boykin, 1484 Elderton Drive, Apopka, Florida. I came thinking to Mayor and Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity. I came with the thought that the proposal for annexation of South Apopka was on the agenda, but I am going to speak my opinion as I had planned. As a citizen of unincorporated Southern Apopka, I don't support the annexation proposal of my community into the city limits of Apopka. In 1984, citizens in unincorporated Apopka said no to annexation referendum on the voting ballot. City of Apopka and a very few residents who don't live in unincorporated Southern Apopka has been advocating for years to annex a section of town defined by the U.S. Census Bureau as South Apopka as an economically distressed community of majority of poor Black citizens, annexing poor Black citizens into the city limits of Apopka. This community was created and settled by Blacks by the city of Apopka, but when the city of Apopka passed an ordinance in 1937 prohibiting Black citizens to live north of the Tavares Atlantic Railroad tracks. Proposed targeted annexation of unincorporated Southern Apopka comes with a cost of possibilities of massive gentrification and remaining Black property owners whose properties will be targeted for demolition, eminent domain, will no longer have a voice in the matter. Black citizens in incorporated Apopka filed a federal class action lawsuit against the city of Apopka in the 1980s and won because of blatant discrimination in providing public services such as water, paved street, no water pressure, no drainage systems, no recreation facilities or sewer. City of Apopka has historically proven not to be good stewards when it comes to the disenfranchised citizens of Apopka. I will be voting no to annexing South Apopka, which is not the formal name. Postmaster does not acknowledge it as a town or a city. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We've got a couple of sets of minutes. Look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Bradley, anything on the agenda need to be moved?
No changes, Mayor.
Good. Okay. All right. Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We've got a proclamation. Come on down, Rob. As you're coming down, just want to let you know that our team really does a wonderful job on making sure that we're in compliance. We get, how often now are we doing the Arctic Wolf? About once every couple of weeks.
Yep.
So we get quizzed every couple of weeks, every employee that has an email account, to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do as far as not clicking on bad emails or opening up bad attachments. And so it's critically important. I can't tell you, there was last year we had a couple of cities, Rob, that
Yeah, it's a continuous threat to everybody. It's not just a state, local, tribal territory. It's every entity, even individuals in this room. But it's a constant threat out for especially government, because it's an easy target to hit. Looking for the big users in there, the mayors, the commissioners. They're going to be the ones that have power. And so if they're sending emails internally, the user is going to see it coming in, saying, "Oh, look, the mayor or commissioner sending me an email. I should act on this email because it's coming from your account." So a compromised account is usually the quickest way for anybody to get into a network.
So anyway, they've done a wonderful job, and there was a couple of times that I've clicked on the wrong email, and I've been reprimanded by Rob and his team, rightfully so. But it's good. It's rather be caught with something that's internally, that we're out actively making sure that all of our employees are living up to the standards, because it just takes one really wicked cyber attack, and they could shut the whole city down. So we appreciate Rob and his whole team for what they do to keep us safe, as far as from a cybersecurity point of view. And so anyway, we want to read this proclamation for Rob and the team. It reads: whereas the city of Apopka recognizes the vital role of identifying, protecting against, and responding to cybersecurity threats that significantly affect the safety, privacy, and well-being of its residents, and whereas cybersecurity education and awareness are essential for everyone, including large corporations, small businesses, financial institutions, schools, government agencies, tribal organizations, nonprofit entities, and home users who rely on internet-connected devices such as computers, mobile phones, and smart technology. And whereas individuals and organizations can reduce their risk of cyber threats such as phishing, ransomware, malware, financial loss, and data breaches by monitoring accounts, being mindful of online activity, keeping software up to date, using strong passwords and password managers, and enabling multi-factor authentication on online accounts. And where Cybersecurity Awareness Month presents an opportunity to engage, educate, and inspire the public about the increased demand for cybersecurity professionals, the wide range of career pathways available, and the importance of building a strong cybersecurity workforce to strengthen the security and economic prosperity of both the nation and Orange counties. And whereas I, Brian Nelson, am dedicated to providing every individual and public and private organization in the city of Apopka with the resources necessary to ensure the success of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, through helping the residents and businesses of Apopka take action every day to stay safe online and connect with confidence. And whereas maintaining a secure and resilient digital environment is a shared responsibility, and practicing good cyber hygiene contributes to the overall protection of City of Apopka's information, infrastructure, and economy. Whereas the federal government of the United States of America, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Multi-State Informational Sharing and Analysis Center, the National Association of State Chief Information Officers, and the National Cybersecurity Alliance all recognize October as National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And whereas the city desires to bring greater awareness around these issues to both city staff and the citizens of Apopka, Now, therefore, I, Brian Nelson, Mayor of City of Apopka, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Thank you.
Mayor, I do appreciate you bringing this to the forefront for us. Again, it doesn't just affect cities and county municipal governments; it affects everybody in here equally. You think you're immune to something because you've got the latest tech on your phones or your smart devices. As quick as you're getting that on, it's becoming obsolete as the threat actors are using AI at an advancing rate. So always, as the mayor's mentioned, quite a few things, strong passwords, using any type of multi-factor authentication on any of your devices that you can. Don't putting stuff out on social media about yourself is another way to get information about you, to impersonate you. If I'm trying to, gather further into you to your friends or whatever I'm going to do, even city government is the subject for that. So we've got an amazing team, as you mentioned in there. We just got some new software, I guess it was this past year, as you mentioned in here. It's been well received by the users. The phishing comes out. We don't know when it's coming out because it's a set service we have. So there's been times when I've looked at an email going, why are we sending this out? And oh yeah, this is us. So not clicking on it, of course, but unfortunately we do have a few individuals that may fall for it. Also, this past year, we got some additional cybersecurity tools that give us visibility to the east-west traffic within our network, so that we're able to see what's going on as opposed to just coming in and going out of our firewall. So we've got and we actually committed our penetration test. We got the results this morning from our company that we partnered with. We had an internal penetration, external, as well as our wireless network, and we actually did really well on that. And that'll be something I give you offline. I just haven't had a chance to get with you yet.
Yeah.
So we did really well on that. Not 100% perfect, but we look pretty good. So again, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate our entire IT team as well as the media team getting our news out for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Grab a picture. All right. Next up, we got a presentation. I guess y'all going to tag team. You and okay, we got Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Smith going to come up and take. Or what did I say, Smith? Scott. I'm sorry, Commissioner Scott, Michael Scott, and Christine Moore come up and talk to us about the redistricting as far as the new county district map. So, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm Michael Scott from The Office, but not The Office on TV.
Yeah.
So how I want to do this is we're going to tag team. So I'm going to talk a little bit about redistricting and kind of my path to this dais. And anything that I forget or say wrong, Commissioner Moore is going to help me with that. She looks way better than me anyway, so I think,
But we both usually wear pink and
Yeah, we wore pink yesterday. But before I do that, Commissioner Nesta, Commissioner Smith, Mayor Nelson, Commissioner Vasquez, and Commissioner Anderson, thank you. Whether you serve in elected roles or you serve in appointed or hired roles, Ms. Boone, we work in government and we don't get rich doing that. And especially now when someone may read or see something on TV and think that you are the reason that their challenges they're facing and may say something to you or may even try to hurt you. And so to the extent that you have chosen to be public servants, thank you, because I am now 3 years in, so I'm a baby in terms of political years. I like the work. I despise the politics. I despise the politics. But so let's talk about redistricting. In 2024, the Orange County Charter Review Commission, members that were appointed, 2 by each commissioner and 3 by the mayor, convened for several months. And out of that came a number of amendments. And one of the most significant ones that they wanted to add 2 county commissioners. And so we went from 6 to 8 with the effective date of 2026 elections. And so by August or November, if there's a runoff, we'll have 8 county commissioners. We'll also have a new mayor because we all serve, we have 2 4-year term limits. So in that conversation, they went through almost 20 or so maps and hours of discussion, hours of debate, and they settled on 2, the maps you see here, 1A and 7B. The city of Warner Park advocated very strongly for 1A. Members of the Pine Hills community and other organizations advocated pretty strongly for 7B. 7B was the map that we adopted. As I shared with you, this is my first time in elected office, and I thought it important that I reach out to each one of the mayors in Orange County. And so I met with every single mayor of every city in Orange County, with the exception of Windermere. I met with their town manager because their mayor was out of town. I met with him on Monday. And I learned so much about our county, how cool it is, and how much we're all alike, regardless of whether we live in this city or that city or unincorporated Orange County. I went to West Orange High School. I came out of there 2001, and the most consistent thing that happened with me in the city of Apopka is they used to kick our butt in football, like every game. Like we just could not win. But I also go to Nutty Lobster and get, food there quite often. But so in the process, I learned that we have to have more dialogue as a community, regardless of what roles we face. And so I asked the mayor, I was like, hey, I would love to come and just say hello to you all and say thank you. And so that's why I'm here today. I'll be having these conversations with the other cities as they meet over time. But so we voted for map 7B, and map 7B creates a new District 7. It creates a new District 8. I lose the Pine Hills community, so I will not be representing the area, as does Commissioner Moore. She loses the Pine Hills community. There was a lot of advocacy on both sides, and Commissioner Moore wanted 1A. I wanted 7B. And that goes to the other point that I want to make about redistricting in this board. Some folks who may not have met me before, well, why is he speaking? He's not our commissioner, but I am. Because see, while you may vote for a district commissioner that will stand in line for you and advocate for you, one of the core strengths of a commissioner is their ability to get 3 other commissioners to support what it is that you're trying to do. I'm using an example of how you lost yesterday. First time. So Commissioner Moore wanted to advocate for a particular project in her district. She moved forward an action and did not get any traction, and so she lost. But also, I lost a bit because I wanted to change my map around. But even in differences of opinion, we understand that we work together in a purpose to better our community. And while we may disagree at times on purpose, one thing that we can continually agree on is respect, because ultimately we are neighbors. What you will see probably in the next 3 months is the supervisor election starts to redraw numbers and lines, as you'll begin to receive notices that tells you kind of what precincts you are in corresponding to the change as they start to renumber the precincts to make way for the new districts. And like I said, in August 2026, we'll have a slew of candidates running for public office, and we will have potentially 5 new members in the county mayor. But I think the biggest thing I would like to underscore in this conversation is that we're not always going to agree. Hell, sometimes we might not even like each other, but that's what happens with family. That's what happens with neighbors. But what we should agree on is that we will continue to have a conversation, even if it's multiple conversations, to get to a point where we can work together. So I just wanted to, again, say hello to y'all, say thank you, tell you about the maps, tell you kind of what's coming. There are some other conversations we're going to have in the next year or so that may impact you indirectly or directly as a board, as a city, and also as individuals. And so I look forward to continuing to work with you all, talk with you all. And one additional item that just occurred to me, there's so many different programs that we have, people having challenges, whether it's a car repair or a job loss or just an income reduction. We've enacted a number of programs that help people who are having challenges. Specifically, one that I am happy about that I pushed for a long time is that if you are a single mother having challenges paying your bills, we will help you. And so, for those of you that may have challenges, or you know someone that is having a challenge, know that there is help. Your tax dollars pay for it. And thank you for allowing me to come and say hello. So I'm going to pass it on to Commissioner Moore, and then if you have questions, we can go from there. Commissioner Moore?
A little later, I'm going to tell on him too because he got me. So, but I won't start there. So, so if you go back to the charter amendments, that there were quite a few in 2024, and it passed this issue of how many seats that there would be in the county, and it passed just barely by 50%. So that set this whole process up again, where they had to redistrict. There's many guidelines. You cannot use race anymore. It was all more geographic, and there were limitations to that, and those rules changed by the state. So, anyway, we all had to lose from about 237,000 people to get down to about 170. It was a very painful process because we didn't want to lose our people. And so, for me, us in District 2, we're very diverse. So we go from Tangerine, Zellwood, we have rural settlements to 4 cities, really. We have Apopka, all of Ocoee. That happened 2 years ago. You see that little notch in the yellow? If you're all wondering about that notch down to the red, that's the Ocoee line. And 2 years ago, when we went through redistricting, Ocoee wanted to be together. And Ocoee, when Mayor Nelson, when you were there, was probably all in District 1. But as Horizon West and that southwest side grew, we ended up with more people. And so it was obvious that the southern section was going to go. The meeting that was held, we had one in each of the districts. It was covered on Orange TV. And the group that probably started off advocating for themselves the strongest from District 2 was Lockhart. And they said, we want to stay in District 2. Was at the down here at the Bridges Center. 200 people there, and they kept saying, we want to stay in District 2. So pretty much all the maps that were drawn kept Lockhart in. So then it really came to what are you going to do with Eatonville had been in District 2? What are you going to do with Rosemont, the north end of Pine Hill? So ultimately, that was the piece that went. And the difference probably for me, he and I voted against each other, and you could see we're still friends today. When it started off at 3-4, and Uribe, Demings, and myself, we were on the 3, they were on the 4. It was obvious we lost. So when it came to the implementing language, we voted unanimously because we don't win them all, and that's okay. But I hung in there for 1A because my people in the north part of Pine Hills and Rosemont really wanted the opportunity to be with Maitland, Eatonville, and Winter Park. So at this point, they're not. They're more with College Park, and then they'll have Orla Vista. And now here's the part where I'm going to tell on you. Because you got me. Okay. So we got into, you guys aren't laughing. We're trying to have a little fun here. So when we got into the discussion, he tried to be fancy, and he tried to take, which probably would have been good, to take Orla Vista out of 7 and put it back into 6 because he's done a tremendous amount of work with the flooding. It was $20 million to fix that Orla Vista flooding problem. Remember they flooded twice after the hurricanes, and if we had to have any more people coming down telling us we had to fix it, even though it was $20 million, big ponds and a lot of work, and he took great care of them. So he tried to get them back in, but you have to keep all these districts exactly in line. You have a deviation, and when the deviation came in, it was over, and Mayor Demings got after you a little bit. Yeah, he did. He got after him a little bit, but you know what? We don't win everything. So in the end, this is what it's going to be. And there'll be lots and lots of candidates. They'll be all over the spectrum. And, it's going to be the public's job to evaluate them. But the county commission has the potential to really swing. I mean, you could have 6 out of 9 new people. And I will tell you, from doing this for a lot of years, your best chance to influence your elected officials is when they're running for office. So take that opportunity to invite them in here and talk to them and see what their issues are. But it will definitely change. It has the potential to have big changes to Orange County government. And I'm glad Commissioner Scott asked to come in and talk to you and explain to you the ramifications for Apopka. And thank you for your time today.
So any questions for either Commissioner Moore or Commissioner Scott?
So I was following the committees during, because I was following them basically on Zoom. Were these maps submitted by the advisory group that each of you had, or was it, or were the maps kind of presented by the residents?
So
How,
it was a mix. So map 1A is Jimmy Alphonse map. Who appointed him? Who appointed Jimmy?
Gomez Cordero.
So Commissioner Gomez Cordero, District 4, appointed him, and so that's his map. 7B was the map presented by the young people of Pine Hills. They call themselves Las Amias, Seeds of Pine Hills, and so it was a map that was advocated for by a lot of young individuals. Pine Hills, if you group it, you have the Pine Hills Seniors, the Pine Hills Community Council, which is the more larger, more formalized organization, and then Las Amias is a lot of the young people.
okay, so then actually the winning map was submitted by Pine Hills.
The young people.
Yeah.
But the committee as a whole voted to advance these maps forward. We've seen them, but we didn't consider all of the maps. They considered and voted maps. They had, was it 24 or 26? It was about 24 maps that were presented through different people. They had one young man from Apopka, 14 years old, actually came and presented a map. Former Mayor Kilsheimer had him there. He did a nice presentation. I'm like, 15 years old, I'm not presenting no maps to no commission. But I was just really impressed that, we had a wide range of individuals that came and put a lot of maps forward.
All right. Well, thank you both
I
for
have a
coming
thank you that I want to add, if you
Sure.
want to indulge me just a moment.
Sure.
So I'll be back here for the oath of office for your new chief of police, Lavetta Henry. And I just have to say, there is no person greater for that job. And the reason why I say this is the reason why I ran for office was the work that I do with young people. I've been a mentor now 21 years. Mayor Demings, when he was sheriff, was my mentor when I was a freshman at Valencia. But I started with the public defender's office in 2004, working with young people in the juvenile system. Then in 2008, I started working with young people in the adult system. And the first time I met Lavetta was on a crime scene when she was public information officer. One of my kids had been killed. And it was Mercy Drive. She showed me a compassion I didn't know police could make. I was a young person at that time. But I would later meet her at several other crime scenes in her role as public information officer. And so over the years, she's gone up through the ranks, and she's just been just an amazing, bonus mom, counselor, and mentor. And so I'm so happy that you guys trust her enough to be able to serve as your top cop or top law enforcement officer. And so I just wanted to share my personal experiences with her in her role working for Orlando Police, because I can't think of any person better. And so if you're ever wondering whether you made the right decision, I'm telling you, you did, because she is just an amazing, amazing person, amazing woman. And I'm excited for her to assume this new role and help you guys grow. So thank you for that selection. And I just wanted to share those thoughts with you.
Thank you. Appreciate both y'all coming out. Thank you so much. All right, we've got 6 consent agenda items. Does anybody from the public or from the dais need to pull any? If not, look for a motion to approve the 6 consent agenda items.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Did we open it up to the public? Did we open it up to them?
Okay. Authorization for street closure.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Good evening, Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Moore. We're going to try this one more time. I'm here tonight to get the authorized for the street closure for the Apopka High School and Wekiva High School Band Showcase. Hopefully we'll have better weather this time around. A street closure is requested for a city-led event for the Apopka High School and Wekiva High School bands. The event date requested is November 15th, 2025, and requested street closure is on 5th Street from Park Avenue to Central, with access to the 5th Street parking lot. Road closure to begin at 4:30 p.m. November 15th, 2025, and will reopen at 10 p.m. the same night. The event is a fundraiser to help Apopka High School raise funds to participate in a parade in London, England, and Wekiva High School to participate in a parade in New Orleans, Louisiana. And the band showcase will begin at 7 and go till 9 p.m. This is the rescheduled date due to weather the last time. The event has been developed and reviewed by staff, including the police and fire department, and is recommended for your approval.
Any questions for Cindy?
No other changes other than date, correct?
That is correct.
And then how are we, once we get to this event, how are we donating? What's the process for donations?
They have a QR code that has been set up. There's a link that Kelly has set up for them, and I do believe they're going to pass the hat as well while they're there, and they'll have the QR code to be able to donate.
Okay, it'll be the city of Apopka that's
They'll be
managing that?
separate. Wekiva has their own, and then Apopka will have their own
Okay,
codes to be able to
excellent. We're just
donate
going
to.
to help kind of distribute that and make
Yes.
sure that's marketed.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Not close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve the road closure for the high school band showcase. Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, street closure for Fill the Boot. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, members of the public. We are requesting a street closure for the Fill the Boot, Apopka Fire Department truck pool. This city event is to raise funds for Apopka firefighter engineer Phil Farrell. He suffered a serious medical event. This will include the truck pool, children's activities, and food vendors, live entertainment, and a fire safety demonstration. The event date requested is November 8th, 2025, and is requested for a street closure on 5th Street from Park to Central Avenue with access to 5th Street parking lot. The road closure will begin at 4 p.m. and will reopen at 10 p.m. on the same night and will follow the same closure used as the band showcase on 11/15 that was just presented. The event has been developed and reviewed by staff, including police and fire department, and is recommended for approval.
So tell us what's going to be happening there.
All
Chief.
right. I was going to wait to the next council
I
meeting.
know.
But the truck pull event itself, it's unique itself. I mean, this is being put on not only by the city, also the Apopka Fire Department, the Firefighters Association. We're all uniting together to take care of one of our own. He suffered a serious medical emergency. This truck pull is going to organize teams of 8. Everybody's going to have the ability to pull a 40,000-pound truck, fully weighted, all the equipment on it. It's 100 feet. We're trying to get it across the finish line as fast as possible. These teams are being made from several fire departments. This is going to be included from members from the community. Anybody here that would like to put a team together is welcome to show up that day. All the proceeds are going to go to Phil and his family. It's very similar to their event that they're doing as far as a QR code that goes directly to his GoFundMe account. That night, we're expecting anywhere from about 400 to 500 individuals to attend. We're looking to fill up as many as 50 teams. And right now, open registration is available directly on the city website. If you link into the fire department, you'll see all the information based off the QR code. And anybody's welcome to attend and join, participate. Hopefully we can get a team, city commission, mayor. If you guys would like to pull that truck, it'd be a great event to see.
Might hurt myself. But no, we're excited to sponsor, help you and the association put this together and putting
Thank
it
you.
on. And so thanks for putting this together so quickly. It's really going to be an amazing day. Any questions for the chief?
No, I'm excited about this. Thanks for putting this together. I think it's going to be a really cool community event. It's going to bring everybody together for a very good cause to help somebody that's helped us in the
Yes.
community. So I think that's great. And I do want to do my own team too. So, or I'll join somebody's. I'm happy to do it. I think just being part of that's going to be so much fun. I think it's such a cool thing. And maybe this can be kind of an annual thing in some capacity that goes to benefit whatever it may be. So I look forward to this. I think it's a great event, and thank you for making it happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I'm going to be out of town that date, so is there a way to contribute if you're not present?
Yes, sir. We'll have the QR code available, and you can follow the link directly online as well.
All right.
All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Well, one last thing is we got Matt Morgan of
Yes.
WWE fame will be our MC. He's excited to be a part of that, so we're excited. So, with that, look for a motion to approve the road closure for the Fill the Boot Apopka Fire Department truck pool.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Nesta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next up, RFP 2025-A-161.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Blanche Sherman, Finance Director. Before you is the award of an auditing services contract for the City of Apopka and the CRA to Malding and Jenkins LLC. We received the electronic bids on September 4th. The date the RFP was issued was August 3rd, and they were submitted on September 4th, as mentioned. We had 2 evaluation committee meetings, one on September 19th, the other on October 7th. We had 2,312 notified about the RFP, 309 reviewed, and 7 were following. But we only had 2 submissions, and that was James Moore and Company and Mullen and Jenkins LLC, who is our incumbent. So the audit selection committee consisted of Commissioner Alexander Smith, who was the chair, Cynthia Lindsay, Director of Finance for the City of Sanford, Gloria Emmanuel, Senior Accountant for the City of St. Cloud, and as a non-voting advisory member that I served in that capacity. So during the initial evaluation committee meeting that occurred on September 19th, the actual firms tied at 95.87. So our next step was to proceed with interviews, and we interviewed both firms on October 7th with the same qualifications. They just had to present their proposals, and the results of that was a 1-point difference. So the total is James Moore at 187.34, Malden and Jenkins 188.34. Therefore, the evaluation committee recommends awarding the contract to Malden and Jenkins for the 5-year period at a total amount of $331,200.
Okay. Commissioner Smith, since you were the chairman, why don't you kind of give us your take on how the process went, just so everybody has a.
Well, I'd say it was an interesting process. First of all, receiving the bids and then going through them line by line and making sure that they met all the qualifications that we were looking for in the RFP. And it was just amazing that both firms were highly qualified. And so, as you can see, the first time around, they were actually tied. And then we went to the interview process, and then again, the only 1-point difference. And so 2 very, very, very qualified firms, and so we are recommending that the award is awarded to Madison and James for our auditing services. And both companies
Malden
are
and
to be,
Jenkins.
both companies are to be commended for an outstanding job.
Okay. So, any other questions for either Blanche or for Commissioner Smith on the process?
Yeah, what was that 1-point difference? Do we know what where that,
Not
what
a-
set them apart, I guess, by that 1 point?
Again, the qualifications, the criteria was ability to of personnel and experience, the ability of the firm to furnish the required services, their audit approach, and their audit fees. So,
Well, I understand the parameters, the scoring wise,
but that's what made the difference. The scoring related to those criteria.
right?
Now,
But
which
which
one?
part?
I don't have that detail with me.
Okay. Was the cost of services the same between the 2, or how did that?
No, it was not the same. The cost was not the same. Actually, the difference between the costs, as I mentioned in our briefing, related to the single audit. Malden and Jenkins basically priced their single audit cost because of more than what the James Moore did. So that was a differential in their pricing.
I don't remember us discussing that during my or my agenda review, but so you're saying that James Moore and Co. was lower than
Well,
Malden and Jenkins?
let me give you some details. The annual cost just for the regular audit Malden and Jenkins was 271,200, and James Moore was 275,000. So in regards to the single audit and the CRA audit, you had Malden and Jenkins at 30,000 and James Moore at 25,000
Okay.
for the 5-year period.
And then so a lot of times when we are going through this process, we usually kind of submit, at least that we most recently have, I think either last meeting or meeting before, we kind of see the score sheets and how it's broken down. And so I guess that's why I'm asking the question now, is that I don't see those score sheets here. And previously we've kind of seen how those are broken down.
Well, we provided the summary of the score similar to what we have done in the past.
You've provided
Nothing,
it other ways recently, though, differently. That's the only reason I'm asking that question. It's been provided differently.
it
So,
probably was a bid and not an RFP.
okay. And this is for 5 years. Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions for Blanche or for Commissioner Smith? Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Okay, if not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve. Let's see, RFP 2025-A-161.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Blanche. Next up, ordinance number 3127.
Ordinance number 3127, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending Chapter 78 Utilities of the city's Code of Ordinances, authorizing the establishment of fines for the unauthorized tampering of utility systems, including meters, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and an effective date.
Thank you, Susan. The recommended motion is acceptance of the second reading of ordinance number 3127, amending chapter 78 utilities of the city's Code of Ordinance to establish fines for meter tampering. The first offense being at $250, the second offense at $500, and the third offense to cut off the services.
Any questions for Blanche? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to adopt ordinance number 3127.
Before we take a vote, I just want to say, similar to last time, I'm going to vote no on this only because there's too much variability that we don't really know how we're applying this and how we're enforcing it. There was discrepancies between finance and administration. So because of that, I'll be voting no again. I just wanted to explain that.
Okay, looking for motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion
Thank you
carries
very
4-1
much.
with Commissioner Nesta in opposition.
All right.
Next up, ordinance number 3128.
Ordinance 3128, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the Land Development Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Apopka, Florida, by amending the city's platting and replatting procedures to establish an administrative approval process, establishing a process to expedite the issuance of building permits for residential subdivisions prior to recording a final plat, updating regulations pertaining to model home sales, updating definitions, providing for legislative findings, providing for codification, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'd be happy to speak to this one. This ordinance is brought to you via legislative mandate. In the last session, Senate Bill 784 requires that plat and replat applications be approved administratively. So the chapter has been amended to account for that and allow for administrative approval. And also Section 177.073 in Florida statutes requires local governments to establish a process for expediting building permits for residential subdivisions prior to recordation of a final plat. And so that has all been included within the ordinance. That's before you this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Any questions for Mr. Hand?
I guess the overarching question, to confirm what you were just stating and kind of restate it, we can't say no to this.
No. The legislature requires it. Most of the provisions, especially with the expedited permitting, are taken directly from the statutes and incorporated into the platting. The administrative approvals has just been reworked to conform to that requirement, but they are requirements.
Okay, understood. And then it was requested that on staff level that although it's not going to come to us for approvals, that we just maybe get updates somewhat regularly to to just understand what's being approved internally, just again, so that should residents reach out about a project or whatever it may be, we'll know where in the process it is. So just want to make sure we're doing that, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You will, and I'll add, Commissioner, that just by design, by how the city's development process works, you'll still be saying essentially the same information. So the approval won't be for the actual lot plats, but you'll still see the plot plans, and you'll see it as the development goes through the development pipeline.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Very welcome.
Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve ordinance number 3128 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez,
Second.
second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3129.
Ordinance 3129, an ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by David Ciplione, located at 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road, comprising of .041 acres more or less, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Good evening, Bobby Howell, Planning Manager. For the record, the applicant is requesting a voluntary annexation of approximately 0.41 acres of property that is located at 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road into the city of Apopka. A building housing a former bar is located on the property. The bar lost its non-conforming status in Orange County. The applicant is requesting to annex the property into the city to reestablish the property as a sports tavern. The vicinity map shows the location of the property is in black. Aerial shows the location of the property in yellow, and the properties to the north are within the KPI. This is the Wingspan development that's currently under construction. Properties to the east are within the county. This is the Publix development that's to the south of the property in the village center portion of the Kelly Park Form-Based Code area. In conjunction with the annexation application, the applicant has drafted an annexation agreement that reestablishes the property into a sports tavern and allows redevelopment of the property while satisfying certain criteria of the form-based code, and acknowledges there will be a future need from Orange County for right-of-way along Plymouth Sorrento Road. Future land use map shows everything in orange. To the west is mixed use future land use, which is the required future land use within the Kelly Park form-based code area. The orange or the blue represents other things that are not within the form-based code area. It's a transitional type zoning. Properties to the east, as I mentioned, are in unincorporated Orange County. Statutorily, it is eligible for annexation. It meets the contiguity test. Florida statute does not require a local government to annex property into. Neither does our joint planning area agreement with Orange County as well. Annexation is strictly the purview of a municipality's governing body. There is a concept plan that is associated with the annexation agreement. It is serving as a master plan for the use of the property as well. And there is a pre-taking and a post-taking plan. The pre-taking plan, as you see on the screen, establishes 7 things. It provides a 10-foot wide trail along Plymouth Sorrento Road that is constructed at the owner's expense. The trail is located along here, and it's called out on the plan. It provides a 3-foot tall knee wall and landscape buffer parallel to the trail. It provides a restriped, enhanced paved parking area on the frontage of the property. If you've drove by the property, you can see there are some parking spaces that are there that are, these parking spaces will be upgraded. Provides additional alternative surface parking onto the side here, which is called out on the property on the concept plan. Provides a covered wood deck. It provides a formal site development plan for review and approval by the City Council, which is consistent with the initial concept plan. And it renovates the existing building to incorporate a metal roof, a new entry door, additional windows with awnings, and a wooden deck. There is a post-taking plan that is also associated with the annexation agreement, should the council choose to annex the property and go and approve the annexation agreement. The post-taking concept plan is provided, and it depicts reconfiguration of the property within 24 months of Orange County's acquisition through eminent domain of the portion of the property that is adjacent to Plymouth Sorrento Road as additional right-of-way for road widening. And that would relocate the 10-foot wide paved trail, landscape buffer, 3-foot knee wall, and paved parking to the side and rear of the building. And you can see that on the concept plan on the screen. As I mentioned before, the property is eligible for annexation as it's contiguous to the city limits and pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044. Orange County does not object to the annexation, but has provided correspondence requiring a 30-foot right-of-way, a 35-foot wide dedication of right-of-way Plymouth Sorrento Road. And that letter is in your packet, as the road corridor is listed in Orange County Transportation Element 2030 Long Range Transportation Plan. And the county is also requiring a covenant on the property regarding notice of proximity language, that the property is located within 5 miles of Sand Hill Preserve. The Development Review Committee recommends approval of the annexation. However, it is noted that the annexation of the parcel into the city is not anticipated to advance the broader vision of the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code, specifically the Village Center, which is intended to be a walkable, mixed-use, pedestrian-oriented development. And the recommended motion this evening is to accept first reading of ordinance number 3129 and hold it over second reading and adoption. That's the conclusion of my presentation. The applicant is here as well, and they probably have a presentation. I believe they had some handouts they wanted to give to the council as well. So with that, I'll take any questions, and the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Any questions for Bobby?
I do.
Sure.
I tuned in yesterday
Mhm.
to the P&Z and heard the whole discussion between the P&Z board, yourself. I don't think I've heard the representative. I did hear the representative. But now when in the paperwork that you have attached to for our consideration, it says here, while the requested zoning and overlay are consistent on paper with Kelly Park interchange, the form-based code, it is the staff's assertion that the parcel's constrained size and singular use reduce its ability to realize the intended character of a walkable village center with a diversity of uses, although standalone commercial buildings are permitted in the village center.
Mhm.
So now the other thing that I had, I'm not too sure. Are you saying yes, it's okay, or no? It's almost like you're
Right.
not too sure.
It doesn't fulfill the spirit of the Village Center. The Village Center is intended to be a pedestrian, mixed-use, walkable area. This building was built in 1976, long before the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code area was ever contemplated. And probably way before the city limits of Apopka ever reached out into that area. The applicant is trying to convert an existing building that doesn't meet a lot of the criteria of the form-based code, such as architectural design, but they are trying to convert the existing building into something as much as possible as to what the Village Center contemplates.
And then also under recommended motion with Development Review Committee, you write recommends approval of the annexation for the property located at 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road. While approval is recommended based on technical eligibility, staff notes that the annexation of this parcel in the city is not anticipated to advance the broader vision of the Kelly Park Interchange Form-Based Code.
Mm-hmm.
So you're almost not really embracing it. I don't know the technical word I want to say. You're saying it does qualify for mixed use. Is it in the overlay?
It qualifies for annexation per statute. It's eligible to be annexed.
Right.
And as I had stated earlier, and I've indicated with all of you in my briefings before, annexation is strictly the purview of a governing body. You're not required to annex a property into the city. The JPA doesn't require it, statute doesn't require it. It meets those criteria for annexation. As far as the intent of the form-based code, I mean, the form-based code was adopted by the city council, I believe about 10 years ago now. And it creates several different character zones, which are almost like little mini zoning districts. You go from the most intense, which is village center, to the least intense, which is neighborhood, which we see most of the residential developments at. The village center is almost intended to be like a mixed-use pedestrian downtown, if you will. If you go to Baldwin Park, Celebration, some of these other form-based code communities, that's the idea behind that. This building obviously was built almost 50 years ago, and it's the annexation agreement, should you choose to go approve it, would bring it up to form-based code standards as much as possible. But the annexation, like I said, is the discretion of this board.
So now he's recommending a metal roof. Was that part of the design for that Kelly Park interchange? Were we allowing metal roofs?
Architectural design guidelines are within the form-based code. There's certain building requirements that are within that. I would have to go back and double check about metal roofs. It's usually a non-metal roof type of building, but I would have to check the standards in that.
Yeah, I was surprised that no one had asked about that yesterday at the P&Z.
And I will remind you, Commissioner, that the Planning Commission did not consider the annexation because it does not fall under
Right,
their
they
purview.
did not consider
Right, it was just the future land use and the rezoning.
right.
Yes.
Okay.
And I will.
And,
I'm sorry.
and so I just want to ask again. And so the owner is willing to comply with all of the guidelines and requests that you made?
They would be willing to comply with the agreement, everything that's outlined within the agreement. So it'd be an agreement between the city and the property owner to upgrade the property to the pre-taking plan that you see on the screen and everything that's outlined within that. And then after the acquisition of the right-of-way from the county, the post-taking plan.
All right. And should this annexation not be approved, what happens to this place of business?
It is a non-conforming use in Orange County. It's zoned citrus rural, which is A1. Whatever county regulations would allow there. But I would assume since it's agriculturally zoned, a bar would not be allowed to be permitted there, or any type of commercial use, because it also has a rural future land use as well within the county.
Now, one of our uses in the form-based code, do we have a standalone bar? Is that even
It's called a tavern. Tavern is a permitted use.
which would equate to more food, not, so I would think like a Steffi's Pub, where it would be, so there's definitely a big food component to that.
Yeah.
Versus, I guess, going way back.
Yeah.
Because it's been, do you know how long it's been closed, Bobby?
Don't know off the top of my head. It's been several years. But,
it has, yeah, because I've been passing that property now for probably over 10 years.
Yeah.
It's been shut down.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Bobby? We'll have the applicant come up.
I may have some later, but yeah, I'd like to hear from the applicant first.
Mayor, Commissioners, Brent Spain, Theriac and Spain, 1809 Edgewater Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32804. And if I may, Mayor, as Mr. Howell indicated, we do have one handout. We let him know earlier today. If I can approach the clerk and have her handout. So while the handout's being distributed, I just wanted to talk briefly about the project. Obviously, there are 3 items on tonight's agenda related to this project. The first is the annexation. It has a annexation agreement accompanying it. There's also a land use change and a rezoning request. And this process we've been in this process for a little over 2 years, is when I first got involved with Mr. Cipollone. And this essentially is Mr. Cipollone's retirement dream. I don't know how many of you have been down to Sodo, where I live, South Orlando. There's a establishment called Johnny's Filling Station, which is a little sports tavern. My 16-year-old goes up there with his friends and eats, and that's essentially what Mr. Cipollone's sort of vision was when we first met with staff about this. And subsequent to that meeting with staff, that was your old planning manager or director, Jim Hitt. It was suggested of doing this annexation agreement to set forth what type of improvements we would make to the property, because there was an issue of whether or not we're new development versus redevelopment. Redevelopment under your Kelly Park interchange code doesn't need to comply with any of the Kelly Park interchange requirements other than exterior improvements. Uh, Interior improvements, we're not proposing to expand this building at all, nothing like that. So myself, your city attorney, Mr. Shepard, and Mr. Howe, we all met, and out of that meeting came the concept of proposing an annexation agreement. And then the city staff actually ranked in priority for us what they would prefer to see on the property, the improvements that we can incorporate. So that's how you see the 10-foot paved trail, because without our client's property, the paved trail on Wingspan, which is to the north and south of our client's property, will have no connection. So staff said, hey, it's very important that we have a trail. And Mr. Cipollone has agreed to that. The staff wanted to see a knee wall because that's consistent with some of the Kelly Park interchange architectural guidelines, and we've agreed to the knee wall with the wrought iron fence on the top of it. The other issue was making sure that our floor area ratio, the intensity of the development, complied with the minimums in the Kelly Park interchange. And you heard Mr. Howell mention how this is in the village center. This property has always been in the Kelly Park interchange village center since the city council adopted that in 2010. So if we annex in, we have to have a zone, land use of mixed use, and we have to have the Kelly Park interchange zoning with the village center overlay. So we're asking for that later this evening. But our intensity complies with the city's requirements in the comp plan and the Kelly Park interchange overlay. And then the request was a landscaping buffer, which we've incorporated into that pre-taking plan. And then post-taking, there was a desire to make sure that the parking for the tavern got shifted to the rear of the building and to the side to be more consistent with the Kelly Park interchange code, which again, we've done that. When you look at the pre-taking, post-taking plans, you'll see that that's incorporated, and that's one of the requirements of the annexation agreement. The reason why this property is unique is one, and that's the reason for the handout in front of you. That shows the wingspan development that you all have approved and how our client's parcel fits into that. It's sort of another piece to the puzzle. In fact, if you look at the north part of that handout, you'll see an undeveloped square that says wingspan out parcel for future commercial development. I would submit our client's parcel is no different than the out parcel on the wingspan development, which inevitably will likely be developed with potentially a standalone commercial use, which is allowed under the Kelly Park interchange. And to go, Commissioner Velasquez, apologize. I wasn't here last night, but I watched the live stream. So I saw the questions about, is there interconnectivity with pedestrian traffic and the like? And when you look at this superimposed on the wingspan development, you can see where that interconnectivity is. We connect the trail together. We have a sidewalk out on Plymouth Sorrento that furthers that interconnectivity. We are walkable to all the uses in wingspan, including that future commercial use and the like. So again, in that regard, when you look at just the aerial, and it looks like we're just developing this little 0.4 acre lot, which after the taking will be a little over a third of an acre, which really isn't going to be developed. And I think that's what staff's point in the staff report is, you're not going to be able to develop a third of an acre with a super high intensity use. And unfortunately, this parcel wasn't incorporated into Wingspan. Neither was the privately owned parcel slightly to the north, which is depicted on the handout. I think that has a residential home on it. But when you see it in the context of what's going on around it, I would submit that it is entirely consistent with the Kelly Park interchange vision for a walkable, interconnected development pattern. The other reason why the annexation is important is for the city long term is the property immediately to the east on Plymouth Sorrento is also in your village center in the Kelly Park interchange overlay plan. And in order to annex that, should that property owner want to come in to annex, obviously it's important for our property to already be annexed. Otherwise, it's creating an impermissible enclave or pocket of unincorporated property. And again, Mr. Cipollone, who's here this evening, he's right there with his hand up, and his son's also here. I also have the Kelly Turner, the land use planner who's worked on this project. We would ask for your support. The DRC, when they recommended approval, my recollection from that meeting is they did not add that last statement to their motion when they recommended approval. They didn't say we recommend approval, but it potentially doesn't advance the broader view of the Kelly Park interchange code. That seems to be something I don't recall from that meeting. Again, last night on the land use change in the zoning, the planning commission recommended approval 5-2 on those items. And our client, some people don't want to come into a city, whether it's increased taxes or the like. Our client actually wants to be part of the city of Apopka. And in the event he weren't annexed, Commissioner, you asked, well, what happens to the property? The property is going to be left rural and it's going to be A1. And my client's be relegated to doing ag uses. So whether it's farm animals on the property or something else, which I would submit is wholly inconsistent with the Kelly Park interchange vision. And I would assume that the future residents of Wingspan don't want that right there. They much rather have a little locally owned small sports tavern that they can walk over to, watch the game, have some finger food and the like, and walk back to their apartments. So we would respectfully ask for your support. Again, tonight's just the first reading, but we'd ask you to move it forward. But I stand ready and willing to answer any questions as does Ms. Turner.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Spain?
I do. Thank you for providing the document here and in some detail as well and some historical context. I guess the question that I'd ask staff, why was this not part of Wingspan? Why did this not come in? If you guys originally wanted to be a part of City of Apopka, why was that not brought into that same project?
Well, I think when we first met with the city folks 2.5 years ago, I think there was some suggestion of, well, Mr. Cipollone, why don't you just sell to the Wingspan developer? And I mean, again, part of this is Mr. Cipollone's long-term retirement plan is I want nothing more than to own my little own sports tavern. I can retire from my construction uh, infrastructure business and I can come here and I can run this place and be happy with it. And I assume they didn't work out the price for the Wingspan developers to acquire it, much like the parcel one to the north that's on the handout as well, Commissioner. It says privately owned commercial potential. Again, that's a home right now. And my understanding is that individual eventually may want to redevelop that with some sort of barber shop on that property. But again, that's why it's not part of Wingspan, is Wingspan didn't buy the property from my client.
And thank you for that. And I've seen, and we've seen it in the KPI, developers and different entity owners coming together to kind of build a more comprehensive, cohesive project, even though they have separate ownership and the like. It still helps again with the kind of the spirit of the KPI itself. Have there been any conversations with Wingspan to have direct connection with their project? Because I understand you're saying that there's a trail connection on the east side of the property, but I feel somewhat disjointed and not completely a connection if we're not having connection to the Wingspan project where there is other development going on there.
Yeah, and I understand that. If you look at that handout, you can see that my client's property is sort of buttressed on three sides by parking in Wingspan. And apparently, as part of Wingspan's review, which predated our project going through review, there wasn't an interconnection apparently required or cross connection with our client's property as part of Wingspan. But we've reached out to the Wingspan developers, one, to coordinate. We're trying to coordinate with Central Sewer to get an easement to tie into their central sewers. And Mr. Cipollone's been in ongoing discussions on that. And then we've also advised staff that we have no problem providing a pedestrian connection directly to Wingspan off the west side of our property. You'll see that sort of, there's like a white area and it looks like a little rectangle on there. Wingspan actually has a dog park there is what they've proposed is on the west. It's on the east side of that parking area, and it's on the west side of our client's property. But we've said, hey, just let us know where you want that interconnection for walking, so they don't have to walk down to Plymouth Sorrento, and we're happy to provide that. And so that can be addressed as part of our site plan, as Mr. Howell indicated, under the annexation agreement. You saw the concept plan, the pre-taking concept plan, but my client would have to come in with a site plan approval for that. So we could certainly add that dedicated connection point. We just haven't been told where anybody wants it.
Have you had any conversations with Wingspan directly about that?
I haven't directly with them. I have reached out to their planners because they're at Polios and Bennett. So other of my developer clients use them. So I've spoken with them informally about it. Got Mr. Cipollone in contact with the planner at Polios and Bennett that's in charge of Wingspan to discuss the wastewater connection point. But we can certainly have those conversations. We're not against having that conversation.
Is it currently on septic right now?
It has an existing septic tank, which is valid. It's still functioning. Obviously, if he ends up putting in a full kitchen, if central wastewater becomes available through our discussions with Wingspan, then we will connect to that, and that would allow Mr. Cipollone to potentially add the full kitchen.
So is there a kind of a threshold, basically, of if it's available, if it's not available? Because if money's no object, it's always available.
Yeah.
But is there a threshold for you guys, I guess, that where you say, okay, if Wingspan doesn't provide it, we're not doing it?
Yeah, well, right now, what we've informed staff on is under the law, we're allowed to utilize the existing septic tank as long as it doesn't fail. If it fails, then we're going to be required to connect no matter what. So right now, the reason we're trying to connect to Wingspan is because they have a gravity system, which is closer to us, at least in their proposed plans. The other utility line, I think my understanding is one of them's on the other side of Plymouth Sorrento. So the issue becomes whether you drill and bore under the road or you cut the road and connect to that. But again, there would be limitations on what my client can do food wise without the central water, without the central sewer. Once they have that, then if that becomes available, it allows them to do more. So they have an incentive to try to get connected to central sewer.
Absolutely. And so if I heard correctly too, and this maybe is a Mr. Howell question as well, just for clarification on my end, is we're setting up a sub specialty zoning exclusive to this site that nobody else is going to have. Is that accurate?
It almost be considered like a development agreement for the site, but they would be, if it's annexed, then they would come back on the same agenda, because that's what the annexation agreement says. We would then have to assign a future land use of mixed use, which is what's required in the KPI, and then we would have a rezoning item, which you would assign the village center designation to it, and then the concept plan that's associated with the annexation agreement serves as the master plan.
Okay, understood. Thank you for that clarification. I guess my biggest hurdle on this one is I want to see connectivity. I think that's the biggest thing there. And if we don't have some assurances, I guess, on that front, and it sounds like preliminarily we're in those discussions, or your team is in that discussion with Wingspan, that the whole point of the KPI is connectivity, walkability, and in its current form, I just don't see that. But if you can create some type of synergy with Wingspan, I think it opens up a lot of opportunities there that makes sense for the project. And then secondarily to that is kind of the ingress egress. It's going to be a dynamic situation there, so I'm a little concerned about that as well, especially with the more development that's going on out there, and especially once the taking happens too. That's just a concern of mine, because it would have to be a right in, right out, effectively, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's what's shown on here is a right in, right out.
Okay.
So right now, I think there's a separation in Plymouth Sorrento.
Okay. Yeah, that's my only other concern. Again, if we can kind of navigate these issues, and again, obviously the water as well, I think there's some opportunity there. It's just we don't want to have like a segmented new development, I guess.
Yeah, and again, Commissioner, I understand that we're not adverse to continue those discussions. Part of the hurdle is as you see the Wingspan, that's their approved development. So they didn't apparently they weren't required to have a stub out to connect to us. So unless they volunteer to amend their approved development plan to then have a stub out, we're not going to have vehicular interconnection because it's going to take away some of their parking to do that. The pedestrian interconnectivity, we've always said we have no issue with that. I don't know that we have an issue with vehicular interconnectivity. It's just we can't impose it on somebody who has an approved development plan from the city of Apopka.
I understand.
That's what this is. And again, just our site is only 0.4 acres. And after the taking, which is it's either a 30-foot or 35-foot strip across the entire length of the property, that ends up taking almost a third of the property away. That's why you couldn't develop this site today to the Kelly Park standards and build it right up to the street, because you just be inviting Commissioner Moore and Commissioner Scott and them to then pay to rip down the building. Whereas by utilizing the existing building, when the road is widened, we suddenly meet the setback requirements of the Kelly Park interchange.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Spain? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak?
Albert McKinney, 3603 Golden Gem Road. Question, Commissioners. Who here tonight is going to speak up for the little man? In my opinion, we were forced into accepting a form-based code. Many of us have lived there for a long time. We didn't want subdivisions next to us. Yeah. But what we do want is choice. We want to see diversity. We want to see history. I don't want choice taken away from me. What you're suggesting tonight is that I should go to soulless places in large town centres that are large corporate entities with no soul. These are people with no interest in Apopka. These are people who are corporate and who are going to make money out of us. Why can't we support this man who wants to come into Apopka, who wants to give us something different? He wants to be there, provide us with an alternative to the corporate entity. And if you can't provide us with that, then you're taking away the average citizen's choice. A lot of the things that happen in this city administration, we don't want. But we do want choice. We do want to see the small businessman prosper in Apopka. If you force them out, and you force them out because you've got town centre somewhere, what are you going to do at the town centre out here? If you can't provide them an opportunity out there, they're not going to come here and provide us with an opportunity to grow in the middle of Apopka.
Anybody else from the public?
One thing I would like to make sure with in the planning, the early stages, is that we go back a long ways on properties. Even this one is that when someone owns it, somebody owned it before. And what was it used for before that? We know that the properties here, we've got ones that were used for crepe mills, and that was contaminated. We know that there were places that were used for nurseries, and then somebody else bought it and made it into a store. But what was under it before and what contamination was done, could it be a brownfield? Just like the Dollar General, it was on somebody's property, but beside it was a nursery that leaked over underneath it, and it became a brownfield. So we need to make sure that maybe before he owned it, that who owned it before that and who owned it before that and what was it. And so I want to make sure that as staff is looking at these properties, that we look before that and find out who owned it before the current owner and what the condition of the property was.
Anybody else from the public?
Christine Moore, Orange County Commissioner. I'd like to address the septic system and the sewer issue a little bit because I have a situation that I think this could turn into over on Lake Pleasant near 436. And we had a restaurant move into a shopping center where it was a very small septic system at the back. And it's been a continual problem with sewage floating down the street, and the regulation of that issue is through the Department of Health. And I could tell you, Orange County policy for something like this, we would require them to do an on-site system. And so I have an issue if you would leave it with a traditional septic system. I don't know how you're going to regulate if they start going to food, and that really isn't the standard in the Wekiva Springs area. We changed all of our policies to go to an on-site system. So I just wanted to bring that up to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public to speak to this one? Okay. All right. So what is the pleasure of the board? I've got some mixed
So I
feelings.
guess
Well,
Go ahead, Commissioner
so
Anderson.
in regards to the septic system, I think that is my area of concern. Is in the event that the capacity level doesn't support it, do you guys have the capacity to, if required, to install an on-site septic system? And can we incorporate that into the agreement?
I would say this, Commissioner, if at the end of the day, that's the hurdle that we have to get over to be able to come into the city of Apopka, we'll end up committing to connecting to central sewer. So
That is my only concern, because you guys are willing to do much as possible to make sure that you follow the Kelly Park interchange form-based code. So the only thing would be the on-site septic. So if you guys are willing to agree to that, then I have no objection to it. So
and I'm just going to simply say that's the reason why I asked what happens if we do not annex it in, because I'm concerned about the small businessman as well, and our small businesses, and I don't think we ought to push them out. And so, if this is going to assist him in remaining in business or reopening the business, I move that we accept the annexation of this property.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I just want, if we can have a little more conversation, if I can meet with you or have a phone call or Zoom or Teams, pick your media, just to kind of understand how we can get a little more connectivity here. Just again, because I think it's going to be 5, 6, 7 years down the road, and residents are going to come to us and say, why didn't you connect it? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why are you allowing more ingress egress there, right in, right out, whatever it may be? So I just want to make sure to try to get ahead of those as much as possible. I'm not against it. It's just, let's try to massage it a little bit to make it make sense.
yeah, and again, we're here on first reading tonight. I'm happy to reach out to the Wingspan planner and see if they have any issue with losing a couple of their parking spaces for the potential for interconnectivity. As you know, on our post-taking plan, it comes in one direction, goes around the building. So we'd have to have the interconnectivity on the north come in. And so that then they can also go out on the southern part. But again, I don't have any issue with reaching out to them. I just don't have the ability to force them to
Sure. No,
change
and I
their
understand
development
that. So if you can do that between now and the second reading, and then you and I connect in some capacity there
Sure,
before the second reading, that would
absolutely.
be really cool.
I will
Greatly
do it.
appreciated.
I will do it.
And along with that, then Bobby, I would suggest you reach out to the Wingspan people. Just make sure y'all are connected in that conversation. That be appropriate? Sure.
Mr. Spain had asked me to reach out to them in the past to Wingspan, and I had on multiple occasions never received a response.
If can you get me their contact then? Okay. All right. So
And I would just say on that, Mayor, I think they changed, I don't know if they changed the planning firm that was involved in it, but we now know the
okay.
actual individual is doing it.
I'll reach out and see if I can get some clarity on that. But I agree with Commissioner Anderson. It needs to have sewer. Period. I don't think that's up for discussion or in my mind. So I think we need to have that as a part of the agreement. and then we'll reach out to Wingspan and try to find, at least get some common ground. Because I think the whole part of this is the connectivity, that whole form base, because that's the whole reason for it. And we don't want to hold you hostage, but on the other hand, it's something that's it's required, and we want to make sure that's we only got one shot to get it right, and this is it. So with that, I'll look for a motion to approve ordinance number 3129 at first reading and hold over for second reading and adoption.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, next up, ordinance number 3130, charter amendments. First reading.
Ordinance number 3130. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, submitting to the electors of Apopka proposed amendments to the city charter of the City of Apopka, providing ballot titles, summaries, and text for the proposed charter amendments, providing directions to the city clerk, providing for severability, providing for an effective date for approved amendments, providing for an effective date of the ordinance.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mayor, I'll be presenting this item. As you may be aware, of course, this is a brand new ordinance before you to address the charter referendum. Just going over what the questions are, since it's been a while since you've seen it. There are 8 questions that would be submitted for referendum under the current incarnation of this ordinance, unless you elect to change it this evening. The first question would change the form of government from the current mayor-council to the council-manager form of government, which would become effective 120 days after passage to allow for the hiring of a manager and transition the form of government. The second question changes the name of the city's governing body from city council to city commission to match your designations as commissioners. The third question would clarify the authority of the city clerk in reviewing qualifying papers filed by candidates, to that being ministerial. The fourth question would change the date for city elections from the first Tuesday in December to the second Tuesday in March. The fifth question, an affirmative vote would establish term limits for all city commissioners and for the mayor of no more than 2 consecutive terms, and prohibit a term limited official from holding the same elected office, commissioner or mayor, in the city again for a minimum of 4 years from the date they last served. Question number 6, an affirmative vote by the electorate would establish that all city employees are at-will employees, subject only to any applicable collective bargaining agreement or an employment contract approved by a majority vote of the city commission at a regularly scheduled meeting. The seventh question, an affirmative vote by the electorate would establish that the city clerk and the city attorney shall be appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the city commission. And finally, the final question, an affirmative vote would establish that there shall be a public comment period before decision items on a meeting agenda when they're considered by the commission.
Okay, so you take these one at a time, and I don't know whether we want to do questions on each one, or do we want to go right? I don't know how you all want to handle this, but we'll need to go through each. Let's just go through each question, and if we've got a public comment, then we'll run right through the amendment. So the question one, questions from anybody?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Good. Okay. Question. So any? We good? Okay. Question 2. I mean, so any of the questions then, are we good with all? Was it 8 of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've
Okay.
gone through
All
that
right.
a lot. Again, it's just the change of date of the election, which I just want to state on that I think we really missed the mark as a council extending this to as far as we did. I think it wasn't the will of the people. I think this was a political game, and I think it's going to add a lot of confusion to a lot of our residents as they come to the ballot box. And this was a big miss that we extended it so far out to put it on this election. But we need to get it done, and it should have been done years ago.
So I'm going to add to that, and that is that I felt that we had such a low turnout with the last special election and it would have just been a standalone in November. And the cost to just have it as a standalone was not conducive for the city taxpayers. I feel, and I have expressed this at the agenda review with our chief administrator and also with our finance director, is that I like to get a QR code put into the utility newsletter so that we can start educating. I think from now until March, if we can, provide some education as to what the city, what we're asking the voters to vote on, and to show them what our current city charter has, and show them the changes that we're asking to be voted on. That's for me will, by the time March comes with the elections, we have from now until then to at least provide some education to our voters. Even it would allow us, and we actually did vote where we can have a workshop or a town hall. Because I remember Commissioner Nestor, you had said that you had to pay to do a town hall
Well, we
here.
could have always done the town hall. I was able to do it.
Right,
All of us were always able to do it. You
right.
just
But I know
unequal
that we
rules
made some
applied.
changes that we can each have, what, twice a year? So this is an opportunity for us to, for each of us to, if we want to have a town hall, to kind of help educate and provide some more information for our constituents. So I think we have that time from now until March.
Okay. All right.
Well,
With
I'd
that,
like to make sure if we're going to do something like that, I want to make sure that whatever information is being provided comes to us first for approvals and review it, just to make sure it's not swayed one way or the other. I want to make
Oh,
sure that it's
absolutely.
the facts that are actually out there.
Sure.
So, again, I'm all about educating the residents. I'm for that. It's just I want to make sure that we approve the language that's being put out there and how it's being marketed first.
Sure. We can do that with the assistance of our city attorney. We could even ask him to come and do a presentation.
Well, I would hope that if we're going to do individual town halls, that we all are saying the same message.
Exactly.
so, well, I think what we need to do then is if people want explanations other than what's in our packet, then you want to get that to Radley. Otherwise, I mean, I think they're pretty self-explanatory. I don't, but if
Yeah,
you
I'm not
wanted
writing
to,
a separate description of what this is. If our attorney does want to provide some type of additional color to it, that may help. Sure, but I don't think having our own spins to it one way or the other is beneficial.
Okay.
okay. All right. Well, let's see. Open up the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak on these?
Hello. I am concerned about the literacy of some of our people. We know that Apopka and West and Northwest Orange County has not the highest level of literacy in the county, and we need to make sure that it is written in a way that it could be understood and that we get it offered the instructions, the education that Commissioner Velazquez talked about is offered in Spanish and that it is offered possibly in Haitian, as we have a Haitian population here too.
Creole.
Yeah.
Creole.
No, well,
Creole.
Creole is spoken,
No,
Well,
and
Haitian's not a
Haitian is
language.
not the usage.
Creole is the language.
Creole's
it is a language, and it's
Correct.
the spoken language. And when my Haitian friends that teach it in Haiti say that they teach French.
Okay. So anyway, we'll
And so whoever's going to do the translating can decide how they're going to write it. But it needs to be offered in French for the Haitians and in Spanish. I'm sorry if I misspoke and said Haitian, but Creole is the spoken language. But I think we need to consider making sure that we have it available and possibly, if you're going to have little groups, someone to be able to translate. I'm sorry if I said Haitian, but for the Haitians. So make sure that but on the ballot, but the education needs to be available through the QR code in different languages, because you can't just teach it and share the education on it in English. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else from the public? Okay. Not close the public hearing. Look for a motion to.
Commissioners, one thing I would caution you on, it's important since there's been some discussion of it, that because these are referendum issues, the city would be prohibited from using public funds to essentially advocate for those issues. And so the education and what can be done is very, very strictly limited because of the prohibition on use of public funds. Of course, you do have First Amendment rights as individuals in your elective roles.
So let me ask you this: could we what written just verbatim like you've got in our exhibit? Could we put that in the newsletter
Or put on the
or
website.
website?
On the website,
Yeah,
so
both.
that way.
As a problem if it uses public funds, that could be restricted, but we can look into potentially what you would be able to do, but it is very limited.
Probably need to. Could you maybe take a look at and see what we're.
It's first reading tonight, so certainly can give you some more answers in second reading.
Okay,
and
great.
discuss what options are available with you all, what you would like to see.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve ordinance number 3130 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez. Second by Commissioner Anderson. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3131.
Ordinance number 3131. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from county rural and county low density to city residential low density for properties located at 1920 Sheeler Avenue, owned by Marvin Wayne Reed and Susan Thomas Reed, comprising 40.16 acres more or less, providing for severability conflicts and an effective date.
Good evening. This is Jun Song, planner with the Community Development Department. The applicant has requested a future land use amendment for 1920 Shore Avenue. The total size of the property is about 40 acres, and they are currently vacant and residential. The current future land use is county rural and county low density, and requested future land use is residential low. As you can see on the map, North Spoke property has a residential low, which is consistent. And the south of the properties has a residential high, which has a higher density. The future land use amendment of these properties were originally requested for residential low suburban, and its first reading was presented at the City Council meeting on September 3rd. However, after the first reading, staff has found that residential low suburban is incomparable with the residential 2 family zoning per LDC table 1.8.2. Therefore, the applicant has modified their request for a future land use amendment for residential low to be comparable with RTF zoning. DRC has recommended approval, and Planning Commission has unanimously recommended approval of change its future land use. The recommended motion is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 3131 and hold it over for the second reading and adoption. Staff and applicant are available for any questions.
All right. Any questions for June? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? Not close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve ordinance number 3131 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson. Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3135.
Ordinance 3135. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from county rural to city mixed use for certain real property located at 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road, comprising 0.41 acres more or less, owned by David Ciplione, providing for severability conflicts and an effective date.
Good evening. For the record, Bobby Howell, Planning Manager. This is the future land use amendment for the annexation that was approved on first reading. This is the future land use from county rural to city mixed use, which is required for properties that are within the 1 mile radius of the form-based code area. And the Development Review Committee recommends approval. Last night at the Planning Commission, the Planning Commission voted 5-2 in favor of the future land use amendment. Recommended motion is acceptance of first reading of ordinance number 3135 and hold over for second reading and adoption.
Any questions? I think we've already kind of beat this one.
So I don't remember. I remember there was a 5-2. What was the dissenting votes? What was the reasoning for that?
They did not feel it was compliant with the village center requirements of the form-based code.
I
Any
know,
que-
but that was. I mean, we were discussing that just for the annexation.
Well, I mean, but that it all tied in. I mean, if you did one, you
Yeah,
basically
you
you're
gotta
tied
do
to
the
the
other
next two. So I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, it's
It's
Kind of pretty. Yeah.
All right,
point.
so we are going to follow up Wingspan.
right.
and
I'll
the
follow up.
And
Absolutely. Yep.
and the sewer, right? Did
Mhm.
they
Correct.
agree to the sewer?
They did.
Yeah,
They agreed
yeah.
to. Yeah.
Oh, they agreed to the
Yeah,
sewer.
yes.
Okay, so it was just regarding connectivity with.
Yes, they agreed to
Wingspan.
add the sewer into the annexation
Okay.
agreement. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Bobby? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve ordinance number 3135 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 3136.
Ordinance 3136. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from County A1 Citrus Rural District to City KPI MU, Kelly Park Interchange Mixed Use Village Center District for certain real property located at 5118 Plymouth Sorrento Road, comprising of 0.41 acres more or less, owned by David Ciplione, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
For the record, Bobby Howell, Planning Manager. This is the rezoning of the 0.41 acres from County A1 to Kelly Park Interchange Mixed Use with a Village Center character overlay. The form-based code requires the submittal of a master plan. The master plan we went over during the annexation presentation. Nothing has changed. The annexation agreement outlines the master plan, the requirements, and the annexation agreement will be modified to add sewer as a requirement as well. This is the pre-taking plan and the post-taking plan. As I mentioned, these will serve as the master plans as required per the Kelly Park Form-Based Code interchange requirements. Development Review Committee recommends approval. Planning Commission voted 5-2 for the same reasons as outlined in the form and the future land use presentation. Recommended motion is acceptance of first reading of ordinance number 3136 and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
Any questions for Bobby? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one? No, we'll close the public hearing. Look for motion to approve ordinance number 3136 at first reading and hold over for a second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Anderson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
And Mr. Howell, and also in the future, on the planning commission, you said they voted 5-2,
Mhm.
but it doesn't state that in the
The
document.
meeting was last night, and so my crystal ball wasn't working when I wrote the report.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Resolution 2025-08.
Resolution 2025-08, a resolution of the City of Apopka, Florida, approving the acceptance of a parcel of real property consisting of wetlands to be conveyed by BPG Mid-Florida South 1 LLC to the City of Apopka, authorizing the mayor to execute an acknowledgement and acceptance of the special warranty deed to effectuate the conveyance as contemplated herein, providing legislative findings, providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Good evening, Jean Sanchez with the Community Development Department. Resolution 2025-8 represents the completion of a multi-year partnership among the city, CFX, and Mid-Florida South developer. The city's objective from the start was to expand the buffer to our wildlife park, ensuring a stronger environmental transition between the industrial area and open space. So it provides both development flexibility and environmental stewardship. In 2022, the city entered into a property exchange agreement with CFX and the developer. The intent was twofold: allow the developer to redesign the logistics park, if you can recall, it's Mid-Florida South Logistics, with better stormwater management, and it enabled the city to increase the buffer adjacent to our wildlife park. The mayor's support and council's direction were key in aligning all three parties on this vision, and therefore the developer fulfilled their commitment by designing and building the CFX replacement pond on the southwest corner of the site, which CFX has inspected and formally approved. The site plan shows how the exchange improved the overall layout. The relocated pond opened up internal site circulation and preserved the northern buffer along the wildlife park boundary. The additional 12-acre tract will be under city ownership that protects the existing natural habitat. And so the city's role in accepting the wetlands parcel is the final step to close the loop on this coordinated effort. Therefore, the adoption of this resolution authorizes the mayor to execute the acknowledgement and acceptance, finalizing the city's obligations under the 2022 agreement and permanently secures the wetlands buffer. Staff recommends approval of the resolution and staff is available for questions.
Any questions for Jean? Anybody from the public wish to speak on this one?
Accepting and protecting wetlands is a great idea, super good. I would have loved to have seen a larger area map so that we could see where it is in Apopka and in relationship to the other properties. Seeing this microscopic inset is hard to envision it in the area. The question begs as to what other relationships are around it and what other objects are around it. Is this near where the drainage could go from clear water lakes? I can't tell. I saw the beltway over there. Is it near that? So it could be a marsh that could accept that. Do you see the beltway there? Is it near that 36-inch drain?
I'm not sure where the drain is, but our buffer is right there. And this was the CFX property.
Okay. Very good. Well, anytime we can protect wetlands and save it and preserve it, as long as we don't turn around then and fill it in and use it for something, as long as we keep it as a preserved wetland.
Anybody else wish to speak on this one? Yeah, this was really a pretty neat deal. When they first came to us about the developing the blue scope, and I said, "Wow, if you could just take the CFX pond and move it down, would give us a better buffer on our 73-acre birding park. Wouldn't that be a great plan?" And so I said, "Well, if you don't ask, you'll never." The answer is always no. So I went to CFX and said, "Hey guys," and went to Blue Scope and said, "Hey, what do you think?" And both were very amenable to this swap, which I think is really a great buffer that will enhance our park and give everybody this what they needed, which is the drainage. CFX gets the same amount of drainage, and Blue Scope gets what they needed. Makes it even a little easier for them to develop. So I think it was a win for everybody, and so we're excited that we were able to put this together. And thanks to the team here at the city to kind of manage the process, because it was it's just kind of like the Fire Station 6. It was another three-way swap. But I tell you, it just shows you how good our partnership is with CFX and some of the developers we have in the area, that where we can make a deal that benefits the public in general, and yet it gets the goals accomplished that they're trying to do. So
I think we'd be remiss to Mayor if we didn't mention and give credit to Pam Richmond in those preliminary discussions you both had with CFX. So
yeah, we give Pammy a big shout out. So
yes.
yeah. So anyway, with that, look for motion to approve Resolution 2025-08.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Velasquez, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, City Council reports. Commissioner Anderson, why don't you start us out?
Actually, I have nothing.
Nothing. Commissioner Velasquez.
Okay, one moment as I fill out all my paperwork here. Okay, first I just want to kind of go back to that proclamation by Dr. O. I did send an email to our chief administrator Riley asking him if it was
I never.
Yeah, I just checked my emails again and I missed that one, Commissioner. That was on me.
okay, because I want to be able, I mean, the opportunity, if we want to have something on the agenda, is to at least ask you so that if you need to go to the mayor, this was something that I had asked.
Correct, and I apologize. That fell through on me.
Okay, I did ask. I just wanted that if we want something on the agenda, I know that that's how the process.
Right.
Also, I know that I just want to kind of indicate that today for the presentation of the redistricting, initially I sent an email asking, why our county commissioner for District 2 wasn't here. And in that email, I did say to you that I did invite her to come and accompany the Orange County District 6, Michael Scott. Okay. I know you went to Tallahassee. I read the newspaper. I read it. So do you have an?
Yeah, I can give a quick
Okay.
update, sure.
And also, I keep following up Clear Lake Estate. What's going on with them and the HOA president?
Bradley, were you going to do something under your?
Yeah, Vlad, our public works director and city engineer Vlad is working on some additional information. And again, really what I reported in the email to you last is kind of where we're at. Mayor Nelson did meet with the HOA president, Mr. Mader, a couple weeks ago to go on site, look at the location that was proposed for the pumping station. There's still the HOA is still looking for the city to pay for this project, is my understanding.
So we're in the same place that we were before.
Yeah, it's ready to go. But it has to be an HOA project. It's the St. John's Water Management will not let us take this on. The project cannot be a city project. So it's cut and dried. That we went in with the premise starting out that we were going to take it on because it would be a moneymaker for the city. But St. John said in no uncertain terms, can you as a city do this as a city project? If you do, we could, but now we'd have to treat it to our standards, which is a lot higher standards, a lot more expensive. So the HOA can put it in there. They can, in the calculations we've got, where they could save $20 a month with debt service and with depreciation on the capital cost.
But insurance was a big variable on that one.
Well, they wouldn't even give me the HOA homeowners policy to even go get a quote on it. You can't get an individual quote on a pump station that's owned by an HOA. If you put it as a part of their package, it would be inexpensive. But they wouldn't give me that either. So I was like, well, then go. So they've not. Yes, they've cooperated, but they haven't. I mean, call your insurance company and say, listen, I've got 4 or 5 insurance guys. I'll call and say, hey, give me a quote for the whole HOA, including this pump station, versus, right now they still have all of their, they've got their clubhouses covered under an HOA policy. The roadways, I assume, are covered by their policy because it's a private community. Their gates and all the infrastructure they have is covered under their HOA policy. So adding a small pump station, even though it's $400,000, is not going to be an expensive proposition. But they have to do it. I can't do it for them. So if they want to go out and get a quote, then bring that back to us. But they haven't done that. So I think we've done what we could to help them. We've spent a lot of engineering time on our staff and as well as outside consultants. We've got to this point that that they it's ready to go. All they got to do is pull the trigger and away they go.
So we have on hold. What do we have? $600,000 on hold. Was that the original agreement that we had?
I think currently for this particular effort, we have probably around 535, 500, something like that. I think we spent about 60 some thousand on the design and engineer.
But
So,
I think the overall project, to build the project is
well, we
450,
started with the
460.
temporary pump.
Forget about that. All that's water
Okay.
under the
That's
dam.
done.
But to move forward to put in the pump station is, I want to say, wasn't it 460, Vlad? 436, and then we got the 60,000 from Avian Point. So now we're down to less than $400,000 is their capital cost, all in to put it in.
Yeah, I believe their cost was going to be 336.
Okay, and then I know that we had some numbers that Greg had put together for us as operating costs, some like which would be, I don't know if he got the I can't remember what all he had. I think he had electricity.
Yeah, we looked
He
at
had
electricity
electricity,
and operational cost for the company to
pump
manage that.
stations
Yes.
pumps would last 10 years, had a 10-year cycle, and so all that was factored in. Maybe there were a few bits and pieces that were missing, but the bottom line is, based on the water rates they're paying today and the cost, we factored in, I want to say, a 6% loan for 5 years. Anyway, it the thing cash flows in a positive way for the homeowners, and what it's doing is it's taking water out of the Clear Lake, basin. It's a closed basin, and one of the things I know that Daniel put together was, I had him do. There was a 10-day period in September. I had him run me the reclaimed water usage for just Clear Lake landings for the first 10 days of September. And the amount of water, when it was raining like crazy, and they said, no, we don't use water during those 10 days. I said, well, I'm just telling you, you're wrong. And so I had Daniel pull the numbers. I can send them, Brad, if you'll get that to the commissioners.
Yeah, that was Vlad was working on incorporating that into an
Okay.
update email.
So the numbers show that they are still using water. So either they don't have functioning rain sensors, or whatever. But and then the other thing I looked at is we had the month of either August or September. So that we had 6 inches of rain and we had a 6-inch rise in the lake. So the rain equaled what the lake went up. Now, obviously, there's some evaporation, but there's also a whole lot of water that's getting put into the system from our reclaimed water going into that neighborhood. So they've got the tools to do it. All they got to do is say, we're willing to go on and borrow the money and put the system in. We'll obviously give them some technical support if they need it along the way. I mean, that's we're not leaving them out to dry, but it's for them. It's for the graded communities to figure it out, and we've given them a solution. And
do we require irrigation for new developments?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
that's through reclaim water.
So
system.
we should be calculating that when we approve developments of how much water we would be pumping into a closed basin, correct? That should be part of a calculation if we're requiring that.
It's only, well, some of them provided, but it's usually calculated as a 600 gallons per day for the impact fees. So
it's calculated, but not at the same time.
Right.
So to say, I think it's
compared to the wastewater, it seems like it's double, right? The number, because it's
Okay.
300 for the wastewater, it's 600 for the reclaim.
I think it's somewhat disingenuous and a little distasteful to exclusively blame it on the residents to say that they're watering their lawns and that's why their houses are close to flooding. So where are we at this point? It's basically, hey, homeowners, you're on your own. We did what we could, and it's up to you to.
We're giving you a solution. That's the solution.
It's a solution. And so, and my additional concern is that not only are we increasing water rates, and HOA fees, I'm sure, are going up because of insurance costs and everything else. What happens if we get into like an Emerson Park scenario to where budgets go out of whack? People either stop paying, not that this happened at Emerson Park, but where we have to step in then because the HOA can't afford to take on those projects. So yes, we can tell everyone just go get debt, go get debt, go get debt, but at the same time, will it fall back on us at some point?
No.
You can't say that. It can. It just did at Emerson Park.
No, we didn't. We didn't. It was their road. They came to us.
Right, and they didn't budget properly.
Right.
Okay, and then had to have us to help them to get out. So same
They're paying
concept.
for it.
So I think that's the thing. Are we're just at basically the same scenario then?
Correct.
No.
Okay.
They have a solution.
But it's not. Yeah, correct. So we're at the same spot. Okay.
Can I go on?
Sure. Go
Thank you. So we have. I appreciate the discussion because it's something that keeps coming up. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. My concern is that on social media, it seems like they control the narrative, and we don't have a response to it. And so that's why I keep saying, "What's the update?" I mean, where do we stand with the HOA and the president? You know, is there a compromise? Are they meeting us halfway? Are we meeting them halfway? Because it's just kind of stagnated. But in the process of being stagnated, there's almost $600,000 that we're holding that we can use within our city.
I think it's very clear that he said that St. John Management District say we cannot take on that.
No, he did.
They did not say that. They didn't say we couldn't take it on.
So what did they
We
say?
can take it on.
So we can.
We would just have to have it at a higher level of quality. We could take it on.
So we have to decide if we want to use other taxpayers' money to
Right.
maintain
To
that
help
right
a private gated community. I mean, it's theirs to fix. I mean, just like their roads. If they have a pothole in their road or their drainage under the road fails, that's not our problem. It's theirs.
And it's not the same thing as Emerson Park. Emerson Park was
Yes.
they were willing to financially
Right.
take on responsibility. We just assisted them with it. So
Correct.
that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so on Brownsville, I'm gonna move. I'm
Okay,
gonna
sure,
move on
sure. Okay.
because they're not here. Clear Lake. We're having two meetings on the same day for Brownsfield, and one we're conducting. The city is the city conducting, or is that
We're involved with one over the John H. Bridges Center,
okay? And that's
and I'm
going to
going to be
the-
sending you the invite to that shortly.
Okay. Did we ever have our advisory committee meet yet?
That's tied in with the Central Florida Regional Planning Commission, so that's based on their schedule. So I'll have to get you information on when their next meeting is going to be for that advisory committee.
Would it be? Can we extend that invitation to our advisory committee so that they can?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, then let me get to this one before I get to that one. And this is just a reminder that the strategic planning city council retreat is going to be held here on October 21st, and that's open to the public.
It is. I mean, it's.
What's happening with that?
It's not here.
Because it's 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
4
It's at the
hours.
community center.
Correct.
It's going to be held
At the Apopka Community Center.
Yeah.
at the Apopka Community Center. And we still only have 882 responses that we're dealing with.
Correct. So Barry Dunn, our consultant, will be leading that planning session. I actually did receive the presentation slides, and we'll share that with you in the morning. I received it this afternoon from Barry Dunn. It'll run through exactly what they're going to do during the meeting, and we did advertise it as a public meeting, so you all could participate.
Okay.
So it's not like us hosting it.
It's you all going through the planning process as a council.
Oh, okay.
So
it's going to be 4 hours.
Reviewing the data collected, looking at goals, or looking at mission, vision statements, those type of things. So it's actually a planning session.
It's a planning section. And they did, I should ask all the commissioners, they did speak to each individual commissioner, right?
Yes.
Okay. And last but not least, our Apopka newsletter. I just want to kind of let everyone know that on November 15th from 9 o'clock in the morning till 12 noon is a free drive-through recycling event for residents. And that is actually very convenient and very good to get rid of all the junk you have at home.
Well, there's not everything. It's
Not everything,
yeah,
but
it's paper,
Papers,
cardboard,
shred, yeah.
and lithium ion
And
batteries.
it has on-site recycling,
Yeah.
all electronics.
Yes.
That's it. And shredding the papers. You
Yep.
don't have to pay. You can go and
Correct.
do that.
Yep.
All you have to do is be a resident of the city of Apopka.
Not just
Yeah.
local.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Good.
oh, okay. One question.
Sure.
Saturday there was the Heart and Soul.
Correct.
I was unaware of it, and I realized that you had presented an award to Shantae. And so when I saw it on Facebook, I did see Commissioner Smith on stage, Commissioner Anderson on stage, and yourself. And I had no idea that we were presenting anything to Shantae. So
That wasn't presented on behalf of the city. That was a private.
it was private.
It was private.
By whom?
The,
Heart and Soul.
Heart and Soul.
94.5.
95.5.
Yeah, that's a paid event.
That's a paid event.
Okay.
And they presented. It was from the Heart and Soul. It wasn't from the city of Apopka.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioner Smith.
And as Commissioner Velasquez said, that Shante Jameson was presented the Heart and Soul Community Service Award at the Heart and Soul event on Saturday night.
I
Well
would have liked
deserved.
to have been there for her also.
Yes.
I didn't know about it either, to that night.
What happened?
I didn't know about it.
Okay.
Now, I don't think anybody knew who the
Yeah, we know about
awardee
yeah.
was.
It wasn't like a
Yeah,
planned
it's,
thing.
it's always a surprise.
Yeah.
It was.
And then want to remind everybody this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as well as Domestic Violence Month. So breast cancer awareness is pink, and domestic violence is purple. All right. And I want to thank the Apopka Police Department. They participated in the National Night Out on Crime on last Tuesday, and it was a blast. And so we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Commissioner Nesta?
Perfect. Yeah, no, just a consistent reminder. I'm actually going to be pausing my office hours tomorrow, October 16th, and they will resume to normal hours on October 23rd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Just a reminder that anybody can come and talk in 30-minute sessions to anything that will help promote the city of Apopka as a whole. And if you at all feel uncomfortable coming to the city hall, I'm happy to meet you anywhere and everywhere that you are comfortable, and just reach out in any capacity, and I'm happy to meet you. That's it.
Cool. All right. Bradley?
Yeah, Mayor, just an announcement, and I know you all received invitations recently for the ribbon cutting of the new inclusive playground at the Northwest Recreation Center. We're excited to open this new playground. The driveway is completed, the exit roadway. It's going to be held on Friday, October 24th at 5:30. We're excited to get this thing open. The kids and parents have already found it. It's getting a lot of use already, but we're excited to go ahead and do the official ribbon cutting on that new amenity on Friday the 24th. That's it.
All right. Andrew, anything?
Thank you, Commissioners. Mayor, I have nothing this evening.
All right. Okay, got a couple things. One is Tuesday will be the delegation meeting in Orange County. Somehow that slipped through the cracks. We just found out about it yesterday. So it'll be from 9 until 4. And who knows, it could even go longer than that. But anyway, so Tuesday at the Orange County admin building. So that will be all of our Orange County delegation will be there. I'll be presenting sometime probably 10 or 10:30, something like that.
And what is this again?
This is the Orange County delegation. That's your state senators and state representatives, where they get local issues that they take back to Tallahassee with them.
Tuesday.
So Tuesday,
What date is
Tuesday, whatever Tuesday is.
Yeah.
Do you have to register for that, or?
You can show up
It's the
if you want to
21st.
speak. It's closed.
the
I think.
21st?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's the 21st. You
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And from 9 to 4.
9
Yeah.
to
Well, so in the morning, the 9 o'clock is elected officials, and at some point, like 1 o'clock or something, then they move, or 11, 12, whatever, they move into the public. So it's so 9 and probably 9 until 11, 11:30. Then I guess they'll break for lunch, and then after lunch it will be the if you just the general public can come and voice their concerns or advocate for something.
And it's going to be at the Orange County Administration Building.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll be there at 9 o'clock. Riley and I are going to go over for that. And so anyway, and I can let you know. So part of my trip up to Tallahassee was to make sure we got some funding requests in. So I got my House sponsor and Senate sponsors so we got 3 projects in the hopper. We've got one that will help us with the lift station in 17. We're going to look at trying to get some money to help us with that replacement, lift station 17. The second one is we're looking at the trail that will help us connect to the wildlife drive. There's the Binion Road Trail. And then the third one is going to go back and see if we can get money for upgrading our training center, the Gillum Training Center, so that we can start holding classes. Right now, it meets the need for training, but it doesn't meet the need for getting certified. So we've got a plan together that if we get this funding, we could then become a school for probably the 3 schools that are closest would be like Ocoee, we got Apopka, and maybe even West Orange or something. But anyway, schools in the area where they could come as a part of their school curriculum and get all the way until, Chief, tell me if I'm saying something wrong, and get all the way up until they're 18. There's certain things they can't do at our center. They have to wait till they turn 18. It has to do with blood, I think. Yeah, right. State requirement, anything to do with blood. But anyway, they can get right up to the point. If they're 18 when they finish the class, they could complete their whole process to get. Yeah. So hopefully we can, we got buy-in from OCPS. They're more than willing to help us with that as well. So those are the 3 projects. We talked about a little bit. I know working with Aaron and Chief on Second Amendment stuff. So they're working on that for some legislation, and then Senate Bill 180. We're trying to craft some legislation that will give us the tools that we need to be able to do our jobs as city and county officials, and so we're working with the other cities and counties to come up with something that, obviously retroactivity is a big problem. Like we had our transportation element that got kicked out. So we're trying to work together to come up with some solutions that give us some autonomy again. And so just working with other cities and coming up with some language, you can't just be against something, you got to have a solution. So we're working hard to try to. So just when I was up there, just making sure everybody knew that we had some concerns about Senate Bill 180, and that we would sure hoping for some changes in that. Now, realize that session doesn't start till January. Bills don't start getting passed until at least end of February. So it's not. I mean, conceivably could be. And typically, most of them go into effect July 1st. So it could be another half a year before we get any resolution.
We'll be carrying our request up there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I need to go up there, I mean, I will probably go up depending on where our funding is, maybe once or twice with that. I mean, good news is one of the reasons, I mean, I built around it, but one of my very dear friends from my legislative days is this incoming Senate president. So it's pretty cool to see, a guy that was on your committee back in the day. So I'm excited for Senator Jim Boyd and looking for some great things out of his office. And so we'll definitely hope I have an ear to him. So
Does Gray Robinson help out with this effort?
no, the only thing they do is our federal.
Okay, they exclusively on that level.
Federal.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. Radley talked about the inclusive playground ribbon cutting, October 24th, 5:30. Halloween in the park, always a big event, will be Saturday, October 25th. That's 10 a.m. I think Sandy, we closed out all of the sponsors, or can you still sponsor so everything's closed out. So yeah. So anyway, it's always a great event. So come down. That'll be Saturday the 25th, 10 a.m. Kitland Nelson Park. And then let's see. No, okay. The Eco Bike Ride is on November the 1st. That'll be out at our birding park there on Lust Road. So we got the Apopka Youth Council will be out there, kind of getting us all ready to go. Starts at 7:30 in the morning. Come out and be a part of that. And I think in conjunction, it just happened to work out this way that that the Audubon Society will be doing a native plant planting out there at that same day. So hopefully our youth council will be able to hang around and help them plant some native plants at the birding site. So, and then last, obviously we'll have another council meeting before that. November 8th, the Fill the Boot event here on 5th. And so yeah, we're excited. When I called Matt Morgan, he was just tickled to be the MC of that event. So we're excited for him and so anyway, we want to have a big turnout. I guess, I forgot one last thing is just got Blanche sent me over the Moody ratings on the City of Apopka, our wastewater bond that we took out several years ago, and just want to let you know that the City of Apopka is in good company. Our rating, our Moody's rating is big A, little A2, which is a very positive bond rating, and so it makes it if you ever need when we need to go back and borrow money for our public safety building, we've got a strong record with this bond rating. So I think that's great news for the city of Apopka and the financial stewardship that we maintain here in the city. So with
And
that,
Mayor, one last thing.
yes, sir.
Next week is Florida City Government Week.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
City Government Week next week. All right. With that,